It was a fall of 43, and I got on a train at midnight in Monroe. It was the first time in my life I had ever been on a train. and then the train went directly from Monroe, and you could get off in Aurora. I can remember when President Stevens was out visiting us. He was on a recruiting trip, I'm sure. He said, well, one of the advantages of going to Aurora is you'll meet your husband. I thought, no way. I am going to be a scientist. I'm not going to... Changed in a hurry, didn't it? The man that I eventually married took me to the movies on December 4th. And he waited until then because he'd broken his foot in playing tag football. And he didn't want to ask me for a date until he could walk without crutches. I married Harold Cooprider in 1945, but I met him as a freshman at Aurora College. He was an athlete, as you know. He has an award, the athletic award from Aurora. And the thing I remember about the last few times that I saw him, he played basketball just before he was going into service. And because he wasn't going to be there in June when he graduated, he was given the Spartan Award right after the basketball game. And of course, this was a surprise because that's not the time it's done. And it was very moving. And afterward, President Stevens came up to me and said, you can keep a secret, can't you? I still don't know how the college stayed open during that time. It was still only through the outstanding dedication and sacrifice of the faculty that made it possible. Some courses had to be offered every 2 years, and the faculty shared the teaching load. And an example of that was I started geology with Professor Smith. He was called into service to teach Navy. So Dr. Singletary, the chemistry teacher, came in. And near the end of the quarter, he too was called away. So Mark Trumbo, the sociology instructor, came in and said, I took this course when I was in college. I got a B. Let's continue to learn together. And so that is just an example of how they managed those years when the enrollment was just really low. We all loved and admired President Stevens, of course, and his course in New Testament literature was eye-opener and very good. But I worked in the library, so I was closer to Ethel Tapper most of the time. And of course, as you've said, other people have said, she was an outstanding scholar. She not only had advanced degrees in library science, but in mathematics. She taught American Lit, and she was a musician. She was my mentor and role model. It was the students who worked with her as if they were her family, and each Christmas she had us to her home for plum pudding. And she even went to Chicago with me to buy my wedding dress. One of the things that happens is friendships last from Aurora. And the other thing I think that is evident of that is how well the Alumni Association meetings are gatherings are attended, which is another indication of how important the friendships were. I think Dr. Sherrick is wonderful. And it's exciting to see how it's grown in the last 67 years. But I hope it can remain small enough that each student can be encouraged to develop into a very responsible and positive life. I also appreciate the fine contribution that they make to the community that's with the school and all, and I want that to continue. But we spoke about tuition. I certainly hope they can keep tuition as low as possible to allow others to enjoy an experience of Aurora University.